How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to The Calling Dallas-Fort Worth. We are in the middle of round 12. It has been a spicy draft session so far. We've seen some pretty grindy Oldhim matches, and we've seen that Titans Fist come and do a lot of work, basically.
Yeah, I think
do a lot of work.
I think as we've watched those mirrors, it is fairly clear that if you're playing in Oldhim mirror, then playing for the long game and defending and sort of turtling up to a certain degree does pay off in the long game. If you're playing in that Oldhim mirror, you should consider adding extra cards to your deck. You should consider prioritizing attacking with the Titan's Fist over just about anything else unless you have a big attack. And that sort of game plan and that sort of gameplay has paid off in the long run, as we've seen.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see how many more Oldhim mirrors we have. I'm also very curious to see how Oldhim fares against some of the other heroes like Lexi and Briar in terms of their ability to kind of tank up and play this controlling game. Are they going to be able to do it as effectively against someone very, very aggressive like Briar, especially from these highly tuned draft decks?
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to watch a round with an Oldhim player playing against something like a Briar or something against like a Lexi and see how they approach that matchup versus the one that we've seen, which was very fatigue-oriented when it was Oldhim versus Oldhim. And it looks like we'll actually get the chance right now to see that as we jump into round 12. And in round 12, we're going to see Nick playing Oldhim against someone named Matt Rogers playing Lexi.
Oh, I've heard that name before. I may have heard that name before.
Yes. So
I was actually talking to Matt a little bit after the draft, and Matt was saying he's very comfortable with his deck. Very, very happy with how the draft went.
Yeah, and looking at his side of things, we can see he grabbed 3 fantastic equipment for Lexi: Deep Blue, Honing Hood, and Cracker Jacks. And then on Oldham's side of things, we've got the Runaways, which is great boots for this matchup particularly. The Ragamuffin's hat, not something you really make use of, but sometimes in dire straits when you're at 1 card, you can kind of use it. And then Deep Blue, the perhaps best thing that you could possibly have.
Oh, Deep Blue is fantastic.
Yeah, is fantastic for Oldhim because it just guarantees that you have a a card in hand that you can pitch and turn it, or basically turn into 3 resources.
So this is Matt starting off with an Overflex into a Frazzle. And I'm not sure if this Frazzle is fused, but in any case, it's going to get a pump from that Overflex. To me, it looks like a blue Overflex. It's a little bit difficult to tell, but if it's a blue Overflex, it's a +2.
Yep.
And
I'm gonna guess this is a red Frazzle, which attacks for 5. Even if it's not, it's attacking for 4. And so it's either pushing 7 or 6. And we're gonna assume this is Dominate because that's the perfect turn 1 play. Because you don't allow your opponent to cycle a card or cards out of their hand. They can only basically pick 1 card they don't like and be able to cycle that card, and you're guaranteed pushing damage unless you use, a bunch of like Oldhim effects.
And against Oldhim, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? You just want to push as much damage as you can, try to, pierce their defenses, and that's exactly what you want to do here.
And looking at the composition of Nick's hand, it does look like he may want to, pitch some things away. Oh, at instant speed, he's going to flash down the exposed to the elements, and this does allow him to actually cycle cards out of his hand. So, and that, as you could see from his composition of his hand, it was not a good hand for actually putting on a threat. So this was a really, really good time to play that exposed to elements because you don't really care too much about the effect. It pitches blue, but it allows him to get out of the cycle there.
Ooh, I do believe this is a card that you like quite a bit, actually.
This is Yellow Winter's Bite. So you're basically telling Matt you're going to pitch 2 cards away or discard a card. Sorry, pitch 2 resources away or discard a card. And it's fairly easy to pay 2 resources here because as a Lexi player, you do run a lot of yellow arrows and things like that. So you can conceivably do that. And he does pitch a blue Blizzard Bolt to pay the cost here.
I think that's yeah, definitely the good option here. If it's going to go long game, you want to actually pitch rather than discard.
Yeah, Entangle comes down and threatens, I think it's 5 damage.
I mean, either way, it's a decently threatening attack, and it's coming in against Lexi, and you got to be thinking here, like looking at Matt's hand,
Excuse me,
he does have
6, I apologize. 6 is even better, right?
6 is even better. Matt's looking at his hand. He's got like a Overflex. He's very much considering blocking heavily here. Yeah, we got a double
Yeah.
block here.
I wonder if he's considering playing a longer game. He could just like deep blue a card, deep blue a card and then go from there. Oh, just gonna play a Dazzling
Yeah, just
Crescendo
gonna come at you
3.
with the Dazzling Crescendo.
Yeah, no worries about like giving it go again. Just jumping to straight to 3 attack and just say, what do you want to do about this? Maybe Arsenal the Overflex, but that doesn't generally feel very good.
He may want to Arsenal the Overflex just to maybe set up for a bigger turn down the line.
You can Arsenal the Overflex, and you could like Honing Hood and then flip it with a card from hand. This does allow you that 5-card hand play. You could Arsenal it and play it and then just not worry about giving something like the flip effect on Lexi, basically.
Yeah.
Another Winter's Bite coming in. Say, get rid of a card, please. Play a 3-card hand.
And this is the way that Oldhim basically can kind of go wide, right? They can play this card into an attack if they like, and it, threatens. It's basically multiple threats.
Yes.
The same way that other classes kind of do that, but instead of threatening their life, it threatens their hand, which is more or less the same when you're playing a game like Flesh and Blood, where your hand blocks.
Yeah, and you can make the argument that he's basically by running this, running multiple copies of this card, you're running a card and playing a card that takes away a card for your opponent's side of things, and perhaps maybe that's just not good enough, like a card for a card trade. But I mean, the card for the card trade at the exact right time, and when you have the archetype of I'm going to play slow and defensively, it's more beneficial for you to go card for card because you're setting yourself up for the long game than it is if you're playing aggressive. So this is the perfect type of card if you want to play control and if you want to play a longer game.
Yeah, and Matt's got to be thinking here. He's like, okay, he's playing this Winter's Bite. He's probably going to follow that up with another attack. So I can. Either way, I'm losing a card here. I'm either losing a card, and then if he follows this up, I'm going to lose some life and another card. And I just arsenaled a pump card with the Overflex. I mean, do I want to try to set up for a big turn now, or do I want to just kind of, let my opponent go through the motions here and get rid of a lot of the cards from my hand?
Yeah, I mean, at worst, you're looking at this card takes a card from your hand, and then you jam down the worst thing is like you just attack with the weapon, and so that you're threatening like 4 maybe.
Yeah, and I love Matt just keeps looking at the Overflex. He's like, oh, do I want to play this? Do I want to play this? He does end up pitching an Electrify. And this
comes in with a Snow Under Yellow for 6.
Yeah.
Double block, maybe? No, he's gonna take that.
3.
Yeah.
So this is gonna leave Matt with 2 cards in hand, and the Overflex in Arsenal. So he could play the Overflex.
Just gonna come in with a casual. I think it looks like a red. I can't quite tell if it's a red Heaven's Claws or if it's a yellow Heaven's Claws.
I can't tell. If it's red, it's coming in for 5. If it's yellow, it's coming in for 4.
Yep.
Still has this Overflex in his arsenal that hopefully will come into play later in this match.
It's a dangerous card to Arsenal because if you flip it, it does nothing, right? So it's a card that you kind of desperately need to get out of your arsenal and play, or get out of your arsenal and just make no use of. If you don't, get any use out of it, it's like, why did I ever arsenal that card? So it's a risk.
Yeah, and it only pumps arrows. It doesn't pump any other attacks. So he couldn't have even played it on this on the Heaven's Claws.
And another one.
Wow.
Yellow Winters. You're playing with 3-card hands.
Do you think that the Winter's Bite is a little bit underrated in terms of like just the meta overall?
I don't know. It depends. I've seen it put into Oldhim decks. I put it into my Oldhim decks. And so I don't know if it is underrated or if it's maybe decently rated in the community's eyes, but I do think it is a very strong card for control. And if that's what you want to play with Oldhim, and he's already apt to it having a defense reaction effect ability on his card, then it makes a lot of sense. You build your deck with a lot more cards than your opponent. You play a card for a card game. You attack with your weapon and get tons of value out of that over the entire course of the game, and you just kind of turtle up. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's a very unique card in terms of like just Flesh and Blood card design. There's no other card that really does anything like that. A 0-cost card with Go Again that forces your opponent to discard a card or forces a card out of your opponent's hand.
Yeah.
They don't have the option of just like taking damage or something like that. It actually just forces a card out of their hand.
And oftentimes you want to do the pitch effect, but if you get stuck, like let's say you're a red heavy deck and you have to pitch 2 resources or discard a card, you're having to pitch 2 red cards.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a pretty heavy attack. So we have an Earthlore Surge into an I think that's an
Into another
Entangle.
entangle.
And so
Yellow Earthlore Surge gives that +4. Entangle, not fused, is still just pushing 6. This is a 10 damage attack. You're looking at your hand as Matt Rogers going, I can block 8,
he's got a couple
9.
arrows.
I can block 8 of this because I think that looks like a Polar Blast or an Ice Quake.
I think it's either one of those. It's a Polar Blast or an Ice Quake.
Yeah, it looks like it's an Ice Quake.
He's
So
got, like,
he can
a
block 8 of the
flat.
10. At this point, you're like, I'm going to take damage no matter what. How much of this do I actually care to block? And how can I have any sort of turn and get this stinking Overflex out of my arsenal?
Yeah, he's like, to get the Overflex out of his arsenal, he needs at least one resource. And then, if he wants value out of it, he needs to fire off an arrow. So he does have 2 zero-cost arrows in his hand.
But he has to pay to arsenal them.
Well,
No, I guess he could get the reload effect off of the Overflex.
but he would not have the Shiver bonus.
It wouldn't have any benefit from Shiver, so you'd just be pushing pure damage. And, I mean, technically, you do have your opponent at less life than you, so maybe you can just keep playing that sort of game. But I don't know.
I mean, he's looking at that Overflex. Do you think he's really regretting it?
Maybe not.
Arsenaling it?
I don't know if he's regretting it yet. Maybe he doesn't regret it. Maybe he just goes, okay, I'm just going to wait until the turn where I can play that. And
Yeah,
that's
I think
exactly
so.
what he did. He's just going, I'm going to wait till the turn I can play it. And here's the thing why you would want to do that. Yes, you're going to have no turn this turn, but Overflex into a dominated arrow is lethal if they're low enough.
Yeah. And that was a very, very tempered and very, very disciplined block.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to push whatever damage he could, Matt's really, really playing for the long game.
And we have, it looks like 2 Chilling Ice Veins yellow, and then the another yellow Ice Quake and an Invigorate on his side. And up in Nick's hand, he's got yellow Ice Quake as well. Coming down with a Glacial Footsteps and fusing, and that's
dominated.
Is that 10 dominate, 9 or 8? We can't quite tell, but either way, this is going to be a very large attack.
Yeah, so if you don't know, the Glacial Footsteps, red tax for 10, and then yellow for 9, and blue for 8. But still, I mean, at the bare minimum, 8 dominate is a lot. 10 dominate, obviously, is 2 better. But either way, the fact that it has dominate and the fact that Lexi isn't exactly known for defense reactions means it's going to be rough.
Now, this does not present lethal in any way, shape, or form.
That's true.
So you may go, because it has dominate, I can only block with 1 card from hand.
That's true, yeah.
So this does actually, in playing this out right now, does actually say, Matt, you are going to have a turn on your next turn with multiple cards in hand, so you can string something together. So while it is incredibly scary to play a dominated Glacial Footsteps down for your opponent and just threaten all of this damage and all of their life, in this scenario, it might be a little. You might feel a little weird on the back end of this because they are going to have a turn. Matt Rogers will have a turn on this next play.
Yeah, I think you're just sitting here thinking like, okay, do I need all the cards, right? If I don't need one of these, like if one of them is just kind of like an extra thing and I don't want to set it up for a future big play, I mean, you could block with it. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. That's what he's thinking about here. Do I just want to just take it?
I think you're comfortable putting 1 card out there, meeting the dominate requirement, and saving a couple points of life. Let's say this is coming in for 10. You put a 3 block out there, one of those 2 Chilling Ice Veins. You block 3. That drops you to...
Take 7, go to 4?
Yeah, you go to 4. It drops you to 4. And you are still in range of a dominated attack and dying to a dominated attack, but you at least have enough life and enough cushion. You're not at 1. And you do have 3 cards in your... All right, maybe 2 cards? Is it 2? 3 cards in your hand.
Yes, 3 cards in hand. Still has that Overflex.
Yep.
Still has Cracker Jacks. And he's going to pop that Deep Blue on this turn.
Yep. So gaining 3 resources after he tucks a card means he has enough resources to do all of the tricks that he wants to do, play the Overflex, use the bow effect, the Shiver effect. There's the red Overflex that we've seen sitting down there. Most likely the next move here is the Shiver activation.
Yeah, and this Overflex is going to give +4 to his next arrow, which is pretty good. And if he's coming in with a red arrow, very likely going to be attacking for 5.
At instant, going to load up probably that other yellow Chilling Ice Vein. He had 2 in hand from previous turn that we saw.
All right, so barring any other pump effects, if he does choose Dominate with the yellow
It would
Chilling
be
Ice Vein, it would be
8
8.
dominate, yeah. So you may also consider doing the Cracker Jacks here to push to 9 and just push that extra damage while you have the dominate. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just save it. Oh, it's a red. Is it a
Ooh,
red?
it looks like it
It
might
looks
be
like
red.
it looks like it could be red. So that would be 9. And I think he has a
He
card to
does have a
fuse with.
fuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if he does fuse this, it's going to provide that extra damage, and this will hit unless there is a defense reaction in play in the arsenal here. This will connect. And that's going to be very interesting because when it hits, I believe he's going to either have to pay resources or discard a card off of the fuse effect,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. It's also interesting to note that Matt did not pop his Cracker Jacks on this turn.
No.
So he's like, okay, I'm just going to save this for a later turn. This is not the time to use it. I'm still going to push through, you know, a casual 9 damage if it is a red Chilling Ice Vein. And it, you know, like you said, poses a very threatening on-hit effect.
And this is kind of what we've seen Nick doing to Matt this whole time of like playing all those Winter's Bites, makes him pull a card from his hand. That's exactly what he's going to end up doing here. He's going to block with a card and then pull a card from hand because it's going to deal damage, either discard or pay a resource. And then, of course, you probably pay the resource here.
I really love Chilling Ice Vein because it's a very, very not only threatening card, but it helps you really get some tempo, right? Because it's like even if it hits, you're going to lose another card.
Yeah.
So either way, it's just very,
oh,
very
this is exactly what you didn't want to happen if you're Nick on this turn. This is not what you want because he has another Glacial Footsteps in hand.
Oh, I see
and
it,
I think
yeah.
he even had the ability to just go for Dominate Glacial Footsteps for the win if he didn't have to pull a card. So, like, you would take whatever you have right here. You just take the damage if you had the ability to do that and then win the game next turn. But now you can't.
Yeah, Nick's got to be thinking, oh, does he just take it?
He can't because, well, he can. He can definitely take it, but he is still going to have to lose a card.
I think he's just taking it.
Yeah, taking all and then forcing the discard, or forcing the pitch in this case, and he's going to pitch a Snow Under.
Ooh,
Can he,
I think
can
we
he
can
somehow
see-
pay for the Glacial Footsteps and fuse it still?
He does have a deep blue.
Right.
I don't know if he has enough resources
He
or
can still
cards
just
to do
can
that.
still just dump the Glacial on him.
Yeah, I mean if it's a red, it's still.
Oh, never mind. He's just going to,
Ooh.
okay. Here we
Very
go with an
interesting.
Ice Quake. He's going to say, look, I'm going to draw a card
He
here.
might have dominated anyway.
You're going to either pay 2 or I'm going to get Dominate on my next attack. Even if it's not the Glacial Footsteps. Oh, he drew another Glacial Footsteps.
Oh no, oh no.
Even if it's not, he's floating 2 resources, so he can't necessarily pull out the Glacial, I don't think. He pitches the other 2 away. He can afford Glacial Footsteps. But you have to pitch this if you're Matt. You have to pay the cost here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Basically, you have to. You're at 4.
Yeah, there's no way that you can allow a Dominate because if it's anything large, and he's gonna do
There's the
the
deep
effect
blue.
on the deep blue. Does that give him enough? It gains of 5 resources.
So 5 plus. Did he have a 2-pitch card in hand?
He does. He has the resources to play
Yep.
it. It doesn't get Dominate, but he does play out the other Glacial. That just rips all those cards.
Oh,
those cards
yeah.
are essentially gone.
Yeah.
If it's a red, it's coming across for 10. He
Jeez.
could block 6 and die.
He
But that's
could block 6 and die.
generally not the play. So these cards are most likely just
How
gone.
much block does he have in hand?
Looks like-
I see 6 plus another card. I'm not sure what that other card is.
Maybe an Electrify. I know he did pick up
Hmm.
Electrify from, maybe it's from earlier. I don't know. Either way, this, is that a Lightning Press?
I think it's a 2 block.
Okay.
I think
then
he has a total of 8 block in hand.
if that's it's an Electrify, yeah. So he can block 8 here, take 2, have no turn whatsoever. But you don't die in that scenario, and I don't think he has any other way out of it.
I think you just have to.
Yeah, he just I think he's
literally
just gonna
have to.
triple block, and there's no other way around it.
Yeah. Like this is a situation where Matt is just forced. There's no other play. It's either
Yeah.
triple block or die.
Takes 2, drops to 2. Both players at 2.
It's really tight. This is actually a very, very tight game. But Nick now has the tempo. He has a free
If
turn.
he draws a 4-card hand where he can dominate, he wins the game.
100%.
Oh, and look,
you
Matt
go-
draws into his own Winter's Bite. But you don't want to see 2 block cards.
You definitely don't want to see 2 block. I do see a couple 3 block cards. I think I see 2 blocks and 2 3 blocks in Matt's hand.
And he's going to just jam down a casual 5-attack Winter's Grasp.
I mean, if you're Matt here, you're pretty happy with this. Like this is a
Actually, this opens the door for him to win the game on his own turn.
yeah. Like this is not the game-ending card that we saw with the footsteps. So Matt now has a chance.
This is a double block scenario. Keep 2 cards that you want to play. Whatever's in that arsenal, you can get that out of the arsenal, play it for value, and then play Chilling Ice Vein into the arsenal, pitching like a yellow, and then firing Chilling Ice Vein plus the Cracker Jacks, and
Yeah, I think so.
that pushes lethal if they don't have a turn timber in hand. And I think Nick has a turn timber.
Oh, if he does have the turn timber, that's a little rough. Well, great for Nick, rough for Matt. It looks like he is considering doing a 5 block here. But he's like, okay, which 2 cards give me the best chance of closing out this game? And it looks like he's going to go with the Heaven's Claws plus
and the Chilling Ice Vein.
Plus the Chilling Ice Vein. Do we know what card is in his arsenal? I don't remember if we saw which one that was.
No, I can't recall. That is a definite question, because if it is something incredibly powerful, maybe another Overflex or something like that, then you can do something with that. It's going to reveal for an Ice Quake and give a Frostbite token. That actually does help him a lot. Oh, and look, there's a Thump in hand.
Ooh, that's pretty scary, actually.
Well, interesting. The Thump in hand, I don't think I see a way to buff it, so you don't have to worry about the Thump actually getting the Dominate for the win. Really, all you care about here as Oldhim is playing the turn timber from Arsenal, and then maybe using your hero power to like protect your life total or stop any turn that might come from him.
I think that's exactly what you want to do here. Both players are playing. It's a very interesting spot to be, like, 2-1.
Oh, excuse me. He kept the Winter's Bite so that he could just play a casual Ice Quaked, buffed, I think +2 to this 4 attack Heaven's Claws, so it pushes 6 damage here.
The fact that Matt didn't crack the Cracker Jacks here means that he doesn't really think he can get there, or if he can get there, doesn't need it.
The turn timber absolutely blows that turn up. He needed that to go. And Matt's at 1. I think we missed the going to 1 portion, but he's at 1. He needed that to close that out. And at this point, looking at an Oldhim player with a 3-card hand,
it's really scary. It's really scary.
You're at 1, and they have a 3-card hand. Just jam down the Snow Under. I think this pushes for 6.
This is so if it's attacking for 6.
If that's a red, it's attacking for 7, and it's just ripping all 3 of these cards.
7's rough. 7's really, really rough, and it looks like it might be.
Yeah, blocking 8. I think he blocked with 2 arrows and an Ice Quake. Excuse me.
So Matt still has
Arsenal passes.
Card in Arsenal. Yeah.
Well, that's the card in hand. He drew 4 and he blocked 3, and so his turn is Arsenal and then pass.
Yeah.
Arsenal, draw, pass. Now you have to defend against 4 cards from Oldhim.
Oh, no.
Oh, Invigorate, yellow,
no.
fusing.
No.
I think that's just a blue. I think it's just a blue Snow Under, but that still pushes 5, plus the Invigorate. If that's a yellow, that pushes 2 extra. So this is 7.
The red Invigorate is a +4, yellow's +3, blue's +2.
Oh, is the yellow +3? It is +3. Yeah, so this pushes 8. So again, it's going to be a 3-card block at minimum.
Yeah, and here we have it, exactly like you called. 3-card block. And Matt just has to do it. Like, these are things that you just have to do, right?
And he chooses not to Arsenal the Icy Encounter. He wants the Icy Encounter in hand and not in Arsenal. Oh, he's going to jam down this last card, which couldn't block, by the way. He drew into a card that couldn't block. The only other cards he had in his hand were the enough block to live. Jams down the Amulet of Ice.
He does have some block in hand now, including at least a couple 3-block cards that I can see. I think 2 3-block, 2 block.
Coming in with another Snow Under, and
a lot of Snow Unders.
This pattern, Snow Under is a fantastic card. You should definitely pick that up in draft.
I love the pitch, the Pulse of Ice and Loft
here.
here.
I was going to say they finally figured out the Frostbite token being gone. I think that was gone a few turns ago. Yes, does have a Pulse of Ice and Loft. I wonder if his consideration was to ever actually just sink that into that arsenal, because he did draw it this previous turn, but he has got a card there.
I think Nick here, I think you're more content to just try to close out the game, try to push as much damage as you can.
Right, but
strip cards from Matt's hand.
He's going to keep doing that, I would imagine. Yeah. Keep trying to attack and strip cards, but having a, like a safety valve 6-block defense reaction in your arsenal, in case you draw into a hand of only non-attacks, or have to attack with a weapon or something like that, is a great safety valve.
It is, 100%. And here Matt has to triple block again.
It's really interesting to see how many cards are left in the deck after this. So drawing, basically just sinking it all
I
down.
want to
and
say
then,
Matt's deck does not look very robust.
right, I would imagine that's why. Oh, he is revealing the Electrify, which is going to give go again. He's going to play the Electrify, which cycles a card into his hand, basically replaces itself.
2 resources floating.
Draws in 2 resources. Electrify is a great way to get yourself back into a game as far as that's concerned.
Ooh, we might see a Cracker Jacks here. This could be a very, very pivotal turn.
Could
the turn.
Could he just sneak out the win with popping the Cracker Jacks, giving Dominate to a 5 arrow, making it 6, and just pushing?
I do see a... Is that a Buzzbolt in hand?
Yeah, it's a Buzzbolt, so he's going to Arsenal the Buzzbolt, perhaps a red.
It's difficult to tell the color here.
You have to choose Dominate as the effect here.
Yeah,
You try to close
100%.
the game.
No cards in Arsenal.
Maybe that's
on
even
Nick's
just a
side.
blue. It could just be a blue.
I think it's just a blue. If it's a blue, normally comes in for 3 +1 from the Cracker Jack. So coming in for 4.
He has an Evergreen to block 2 from the defense reaction effect. He can block 3 and then block 2, and that would leave him taking 1 if it is a red Buzzbolt. So he does have an out if it's a res Buzzbolt. Very
interesting to note. Even 1 damage is lethal here, even though that Nick is at 2, because we do have that Electrify play.
And we do have the Buzzbolt, which I don't know, wasn't fused actually. So yes, exactly lethal if you don't do this play right here.
So yeah, block, defense reaction.
Yep.
Kind of shut down.
Oh no, it's a 2-card hand.
Oh,
it's a 2-card hand, no cards in deck.
They both block
Slam
for 2.
down.
That's going to do
the
it.
6, and that will do it. Matt Rogers isn't able to get there against just a giant pressured attack, constant pressure from Nick on Oldhim. That was a really fun game to watch.
I agree.
So cool to watch Oldhim just take control of the game and not let it go, not trying to play the super defensive route. Instead, just going, I'm going to play a threat. Deal with it.
Yeah, 7
attack.
attack.
Can't deal with it?
7
okay.
attack.
I'm going to play a threat. Deal with it. You going to deal with? Okay. I'm going to play. It was just that the whole game.
I love the Oldhim showing day 2 so far. We had a lot of Briar day 1. I love the Oldhim showing
Old
today.
Man Winter is making his appearance at the Calling.
He's making a statement.
Dallas-Fort Worth.
Statement.
And we're going to cut to a quick break. We're going to set up for the next match. We'll jump back with you here in a few minutes, and we'll see you here for more Flesh and Blood.